Well, hi. Pretty sure I'm live now from what all I can see on my screen. So, yay, hello. Um, Today is sunny and pretty, and I'm sitting inside my studio with all the windows closed um, because I actually did some research between today and 2 weeks ago on my last live stream and talked to a friend of mine who owns or co-owns a shop near me. It's where I get my prints made when I'm going to do um, uh, an art festival event and I need prints made of my artwork. I go to them. And so I thought, well, maybe they know about cameras. So I called and talked to them. And she advised me that my issues that I've been having with my color not being right and the focus not being right is probably a lighting issue, which I kind of already knew. So between last week and today, hi Jackie, hi Bill. Um, Between last week and today, I bought a couple of extra little lights. I got these right here. Let's see. I have to. Well, I'll just hold it up here. Um, this little thing. It has a switch on the side. I'll turn it on. I'm not going to do that and point it at the camera because probably it'll blind you. But anyway, I got a couple of these so I can put light right where I need it, and also I got all the blinds closed except one, which is way over in the corner. You can probably see behind me. There's a bright white spot on my door. Um, that's because there's one window that I can't get to it without climbing over a bunch of stuff. So the blinds on that one are just staying open. And that bright spot on that door back there isn't going to bother me. I don't doubt it'll bother anyone. But anyhow, hopefully today you're going to be able to see really good. And I'm glad you're here. Looks like from my screen I can see that I do have several people watching. Hi Sally, I see you just clicked in too. So if you aren't telling me you're here in the chat, and you can do that, I love it when you do because that lets me know I'm not alone here. And so let's just go ahead and talk about what we're doing today. Enough of camera stuff. Except for I will say, let me just show you one thing. I got this camera. Let's switch down here to this screen. I did get a new camera. Gotta admit that. But that's because one died. But anyway, I have one of my new lights turned on this. My tabletop still looks a little dark, but I've got it set up in a way that that when I zoom in, well, let's just zoom in, and I'm going to show you this fish. Some of you, I know Jackie, I think you were there when we did this Siamese fighting fish class through the library. And I think I was telling everybody then that the colors were not right and the clarity was not right. And I just want to show you what I was talking about there. So I got this rig. My husband gave me all of these little bins. They look like this. And I got a little stack of them. And I'm going to stack them up here under the camera and block off the whole screen, and then lay my picture on top of it, and then you should be able to see. I have like 5 seconds of lag, so I got to kind of wait for a second for it to update my preview screen. But look at that. This is really what I was trying to tell you. This clarity I wasn't getting with my other cameras. So now I'm pretty happy. It's this camera together with the advice I got from my friend at the print shop that I think is going to help me out here. But I wanted you guys to see, because if I'm showing you what I'm doing and you can't see it because my camera won't pick it up, it just is very frustrating. But that's what I was trying to show you, all of those lines and all of the the bright, pretty green color right in there. And if you were here for if you were here for this class, we weren't getting that color, and you couldn't see that little anemone down in the corner there. It was all blurry, and I was really disappointed because I wanted you to be able to see what I was showing you, and I couldn't, and it was cameras and lighting. Ditto with this when we did, I guess this was 2 weeks ago live stream. We did the butterfly, and I was trying to tell you about all these little lines and details, and you couldn't see it, and my camera wouldn't pick it up. Look at that. Look at the difference when I do this. So this is making me happy. I'm hoping this means I'm going to be done complaining about my camera issues. So, with that said, now we can really get into today's picture. And I'm hoping you guys noticed in the description of the thing we're doing today, I included a link so you could actually download my reference photo if you want. I have a printed out one right here on my tabletop, so I'm going to be looking at my printed one because in this setup in my studio here, it's difficult for me to keep looking up at the screen. When I'm relaxing, thanks Sally, when I'm relaxing, I sit at my desktop computer over in my dining room. It's between dining room kitchen area, and I sit there with a cup of tea or something and can draw what's on my computer screen, and I really prefer to draw from that because the light in your screen just really makes the reference photo look more alive than it does in a printed out thing like this. But when I'm working out here in the studio, I just use a big printout. That is on an 11 by 17 piece of paper, and that also, as you just maybe have just seen, it's very close to, coincidentally, the size of the paper that I'm going to be drawing on today. So that's pretty convenient. If I want to get my ruler out and measure things to check my drawing as I go, that's going to be super easy because my reference picture matches the size of my drawing paper. That's not always the case, but today it is. Okay, so since I gave you the link to the reference photo and you were hopefully able to download that and print it out, I'm probably going to turn the reference photo out of the screen on the computer, unless someone says, hey, don't do that. So if you need me to keep that up there and you're able to tell me that in the chat, please do, so I'll know to keep it up there. Otherwise, me and the reference picture are going away. Let's see if that worked. It did. And I think that one's going out of there. And so you can also see right on the side here, I have a whole bunch of different pencils. They're different, like 4B, 8B. Mostly these are B's. I don't like to draw very much with the H's because they dig into the paper and they just make such light and sharp lines because the lead is much harder. Oh, Jackie, I see that, so putting it back in there. It should pop up there in a second. But anyway, while it was not there, you could see that I have all these pencils. I have also a little stack of these little containers. I save these and keep stuff in it. I've got, I thought I had a bunch of newer ones of these. These little blending stumps we might use, and a bunch of little bits of eraser. What this is, I really don't like those kneaded erasers. I just never have liked them. Probably because when you drop them on the floor, like if you're at school or somewhere, the floor is never as clean as it should be, and you pick up your eraser and now it's got dirt and gunk and gross stuff stuck in it. So no, Jackie, I don't mind leaving that reference up there. We're gonna zoom in here in a minute and it'll be fine. I'll just leave it because I don't want you to be trying to draw and you can't see the picture. Anyhow, rubber erasers are my favorite because if I happen to drop this, I don't pick it up and find dirt and hair and lint and stuff stuck in it. And I'm kind of a germaphobe, so that matters to me. But also, these rubber erasers don't leave a whole bunch of eraser dirt on the page when you erase with them. Not as much as like those pink erasers and most erasers that you find. And I think that's probably why people like the kneaded eraser. It also doesn't leave a bunch of junk on your paper. But I find that these do just as good. And what I do is I take my scissors and cut little bits off. So that's why I have all these little tiny bits. This is not an eraser that started out big and I just used it so long that it's tiny. Although I do use my eraser that much. But these are little bits that I cut off of here because I can cut angles and get little sharp corners on there, and I can use them to erase details in little, tiny little bits. Fine details can be erased out, and thin straight lines and stuff like that, which is very similar to what you do when you lift, when we're painting with watercolor and I tell you to use your clean paintbrush and use the edge and get it wet and just kind of lift paint up. That's all you're doing there is the same thing we do with an eraser. And if you subscribe to this style of drawing where you put a bunch of graphite on the paper and then take your eraser to pull graphite back up, that's the same sort of thing. So putting those aside, one last thing, I don't like to use this sharpener. They work if you're limited on space and you don't have electricity, but I find that I like this better. This is a battery operated thing, and I can just put my pencil down in there and sharpen it, and it works great. I already sharpened all of mine, so let's just sharpen this one extra. Make sure it's one I'm not going to be using in case I break the lid. Alright, so you just put it in there. It's battery operated. And it'll sharpen really good. And the thing that I find best about this is that if you work much with colored pencil, I find that my colored pencil lead it keeps breaking. It won't, I don't have one right now. Oh, what I do. I like a big point on my colored pencil, and see how that one is, the lead fell right out of there? That happens all the time to me when I'm working with colored pencil, and so I'll sharpen the thing and then I go to draw and the lead just falls out. That doesn't happen nearly as much when I sharpen with this thing, because you can hold the pencil really, really steady, straight up and down, and hold it steady, and it'll sharpen and it won't break your lead, which apparently this thing you can't hold it as straight as you think you're doing, and you tilt it just enough and it breaks the lead way up in here, and that's apparently what's going on. I found that out watching somebody else's YouTube channel. So that's just a little tip for you there if you have trouble with your pencil leads breaking. Get you one of those little, I just bought this at an office supply. I think it says 4A brand, but it's just an inexpensive little battery operated pencil sharpener. Was one of the greatest things I ever spent $10 on. So, Sally, you like to squish the eraser for stress? I might do that too, except for I really don't like if I drop it and it picks up lint and crud. So I probably would get something else, but I can see that being a thing. All right, now to get started drawing, let me just get a little bit more set up here, put my stuff out. Oh, and if you've ever used these, you probably know this, but if you haven't, if they get grungy and gross, you can stick this in that pencil sharpener, or you can use scissors to get see, that doesn't have a good point on it anymore. I have some really good scissors. I can just cut a new point, cut that off there and make it pointy and nice again. It gets clean. Not that clean is really an issue because I use the graphite that's on the end of these things for drawing. But anyway, I'm making a mess on my table and I don't want to do that. But you probably get the idea there. I'm just cutting this back down into another nice point because it's just paper and it's made to do that with it. So there's that. Now I got dirt on my table for sure. I don't like all that eraser dirt. It gets everywhere. So, and that would have too. So anyhow, it's on the floor now. All right. When I draw these things, this picture is one I've drawn a whole lot. Let's just put the whole big thing back out here. Also, Jackie, if you want, I'll leave this here for a second. You could do a screenshot if you want, if that helps you. I'll leave it. Let's turn it straight. And I think if I zoom in, it probably gets too zoomed in. I have to give it a couple of seconds before it updates my preview screen. Let's see. That's got most everything. So maybe that helps you. There, I think I've got it all in there. Sally, the paper I'm using is just some regular drawing paper. It's inexpensive, it's nothing fancy. It's just a plain, smooth drawing paper. I do also sometimes, thanks Jackie, I do also sometimes use printmaking paper that you can buy where you buy watercolor paper and stuff like that. I think I ran out of it, but some time ago I bought a big roll of printmaking paper, and I really like that paper for drawing. It has a great feel to it. I like to touch my paper and feel it really good. Sorry if that's weird, but but that's how I know if this is going to be good paper that I'm going to enjoy working with. And so printmaking paper or anything like that you can use. And today I'm using super duper inexpensive plain drawing paper that I bought in a gigantic pad, and I tore a couple sheets off there and tore them in half. So I've got several sheets here because I like the feel of the paper underneath the one that I'm drawing on, rather than laying it straight onto my table. My table's nice and smooth and everything, but it won't have the feel that I want it to have. So I've just got about four pieces stacked up here. Now the next thing is, once I get started drawing this, you may have seen, I'll just show you. Oh no, that's the wrong one. This is the right one. I actually draw this same thing a lot because I like it. I find it relaxing. I'm shifting my laptop around here so maybe the camera back over my shoulder. Let's see, it's on this side. On the wall over there, you can see I've got one of these drawings that I did some time ago, and I stuck it on my wall because I just like this piece. It's a bunch of little candle holder lantern things that I keep out in my garden or sitting on my outside table because I think they're beautiful. And actually the one that is the mason jar, I made myself a whole bunch of those. Let's see if I can show you that. I made myself a whole bunch of these, and the one behind there was a soup can which I filled with water. Let's see, I can zoom right in and show you what I'm talking about on the picture here. I filled that soup can up with water and put some tin foil over the top of it and put it in the freezer, and once it was frozen solid, then I used an ice pick and I punched holes in the tin can. And the reason you fill it with water is so the can won't smush in when you're trying to punch your holes in it. And the reason you put the foil over the top is because if you don't, the water kind of swells up when it freezes and makes a little hump there, and then you've got this edge exposed with no ice behind it to hold the can in place, and the rim gets sunk in. But anyhow, so I made myself some things for my garden because I really enjoy being outside in my yard with my flowers and my plants, and I have all these little candle things because I just like them. And I think, I don't remember what I was doing. I must have been changing things up because this one hangs, and this is a bunch of chain I had for hanging, either a hanging plant or whatever, I don't know. This was my patio a few years ago when we lived in Dania Beach, in a condo over there. But anyhow, I just took a bunch of pictures, and I like this picture, and I draw it a lot, and every time I go to draw this, I start at a different spot in the picture. Sometimes I'll start with this, sometimes I'll start with this little pagoda thing, sometimes I start with placing the table in, and every time I draw it, starting in a different spot, it means I come out with a different composition, because where I start just kind of affects the end result. So today I'm going to start, let's see here. Oh, and I don't know if I told you, this one right here, it was a mason jar, and I just put wire around the rim and ran that around a pencil. You just take your wire and round and around your pencil and slide it off, and then you've got that little spiral thing for a handle. And then I put a votive candle in there. So that's that. I think today I'm gonna start with positioning where my table is in here, and then I'm gonna just put the bottoms in. I think that's what I'm gonna do. So I'll head off in that direction, and I'll probably leave off the coasters. This is a little flat bamboo coaster and a marble with cork coaster. I'm probably going to leave those out of this drawing. Probably. Because I like the pattern of the tabletop. So I'm going to focus more on that. But if you're drawing, feel free to start wherever you want to start, and put in or out details as you prefer. Now let's see. What is this? This is a 2B. 2B pencil, they're good. I think I want to start with a 4 though. Where's my 4? This is a 4. Okay, so I'm starting with a 4B. I just like the softer lead, and that's what I prefer to draw with. I'm also going to take a cue from my reference photo here and see that my paper here is taller than my picture. So to help remind me to keep it level there, I'm going to just take my ruler got a nice big 18-inch long ruler that really helps me a lot. I'm going to put a line across the bottom and a line across the top, and that'll kind of help define my borders, so I remember not to go too tall, because as I'm figuring where to position things, I'm looking at where the edge of my drawing is going to be, and if I don't draw that line there, I forget, and I'll look at it, I'll measure in from the top and in from the bottom, and then my scale will be off, which is not the end of the world. I could still get a really nice drawing, but that's just what I want to do today, since coincidentally my reference is the same size as the paper I'm drawing on. Now I can just start looking, and I can see that edge starts there really close. That may not be in the frame. That edge starts really close to the corner here, so I can just go really close to my corner on my paper and start putting this curve in. And I'm going to draw really light, and let's see, that goes about over to here and up a little less than half, and then it angles over there, And I've got a nice curve over there, so let me put that curve in just like that. And I'm kind of using my whole arm from my elbow down. Instead of drawing from my wrist, I'm gonna draw with my whole arm. It just is a little bit better way to achieve the smoother, prettier line. So I've got the side of that table in there, and let's see, I've got a light on it. It's not showing up super dark, but I'm hoping you are able to see it. If not, somebody let me know in the chat that I need to make my lines darker. And where possible, I will make them darker, just so that it's easier for you to see what we're doing. All right, now that table edge is going to continue behind those lanterns, and I want to continue with sort of the same angle. And if you look in the reference photo, you can see we can guess that table, I see a little bit of it right back there, so we can guess that goes right on around this way and kind of comes down here. You can see through the glass mason jar here, so you see that the table's not way up there, it's down here somewhere. So I could also make myself a little guide if I wanted to place this here and just say I got to end up right over in this vicinity somewhere. So that's a convenient thing I can do. Here's where I want to end up, and so I'm going to bring this. Now this might be a little too high. Let me just see if I can measure that too. It is. I'm looking at this table and seeing, wow, I really like this table, and that's causing me, it's like tricking me into thinking this is bigger than it is, because this is what I'm looking at right now, all that pattern that I like that's in the table here. So I drew it too big. I got it right about there, and it's maybe only off that much, so I think I'll probably leave it. But that means I need to adjust this side up a bit so my angle stays good. But since this isn't going to be in the picture, it's not so bad if it's not quite right. The thing is, I want to position where all of my lanterns are sitting on the table, so I do want to have that in there so I have an idea of where I'm putting stuff. So now there's a border around this picture, and around this tabletop, and let's just take advantage of the fact that I can do this. It's going to come out somewhere over here. So now if you didn't have the reference printed the same size that your paper you're drawing on, you would look at this and you would measure. You would say, here's my corners, and I'm not sure that's all the way in the screen. Let my preview screen catch up. There we go. Okay, so you would say, here's my corners, here's probably the halfway mark. That looks like it's halfway between the center and the edge, so 1/4 of the way over here is where you would know to mark that, and that would work whatever size paper you're drawing on. So here's the corners, and here's about the halfway mark, and here's pretty close to halfway between here and here, so 1/4 over this way is right about here. And that is what you do whether you're drawing big or little, and that's how you can get your drawing done accurately on whatever size paper you're doing. Okay, so over here, and I'm going to sort of mimic that angle, but it's in skewed perspective, and we're not going to talk about perspective today. It's not really. We're going to just eyeball it and say that's pretty good, like that, because we're looking at this table kind of on an angle. It's not flat. I was a little bit above it, but not real high above it, so I'm not looking straight down on it, and I'm not looking at it flat from the edge. So that's pretty accurate right there. And if this comes on around here, I am going to draw this a little bit because it does make an appearance underneath the pagoda lantern in a minute. So I'm going to just put that over there. I figure that's probably pretty close right there. So this line comes here. Now I'm not going to draw these lines really dark because these are not going to be in the end result. Actually, I'm going to draw so much stuff over it that if it doesn't erase the whole way, it won't hurt much. So there, just so that you can see where I've got these lines. I'll put them in a little darker. Now that's my tabletop that my lanterns are going to sit on. So, where do I want to put it? Or what do I want to put in next? I am going to leave that coaster off and that coaster. Now I've got a pile of chain link stuff that I was using to hang either one of these lanterns or a planter or something. I do want to put that in, but I'm not going to put it in first. So I don't think I'm going to draw anything there, except I will probably take something like, is this an 8B? That's my 8B, a really soft lead, and I'm going to just put a little bit of color right here to remind myself it's there. Just kind of get the overall shape going in it, so I don't forget that I've got this little puddle of chain right here. And that's about how that goes. It's probably bigger than that. I'm going to just test it. Yep, should have been taller. I did get this right. It came over about the right amount out here, but I gotta put it up a little bit taller. That's pretty convenient to have my reference be printed out the same size today. Anyway, that's good enough. That's my puddle of chains. And I'm going to go back into that later and draw into it. And you see, it's so dark that I can draw a lot of dark lines, and then I can take my eraser and pick out some highlights, and that'll be pretty right there. But that's not what I want to have my focus on today. Let's see. Do I want to have my detail come in from this side? I think today that's what I'm going to do. I love this big lantern, this really big thing right here. I love it. It's really pretty, but I almost always draw that one. And that means I never get to these over here. So I'm going to start positioning these in, and then I will come back to that one. So I'm going to leave that laying right up there. And let's put in the mason jar light. And I got to switch back to my 4B. Yeah, that's it. And I think what happens if I zoom way in? Did I press the right button? Now I gotta wait because I wasn't looking if I pressed the right button. Yep, I did it. Okay, so right there, I'm zooming in so we can see above my puddle of chains, maybe maybe an inch. So not right there. About right here. No, wait, I see in my picture, one thing I got to keep in mind is the border of the table does not show here. So I got to keep this bottom of this mason jar low enough that that doesn't show, or else I have to change what I'm drawing. So let's see. I'm going to put it right about here and just barely cover up that edge. Now it would go there, but I'm going to just fudge and leave that out because I can. That's a thing too, when you're drawing, you can edit as you go, and however you want to end up having it be. Oh, look at that, I got it pretty much right where it goes. Now I'm going to put it up here and then just make a couple of wiggles right there, or humps, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, and up again a little bit, and then we'll put a round top on it. But remember, we're off to the side, we're not looking straight down at it, so it's not going to be a big, it's not going to be a very wide part of that you can see. And then I'm just going to go ahead and hint at these lines right now. Don't need to finish that. And I'm going to take that line out of there because that isn't really helping anything. It's there, and yeah, that's glass. You probably could see some of it, but we'd only see a little over here because the next thing I'm drawing is that tin can lantern that I made, and it comes up from a little closer to the left than, it's not right in the center. It's going to come right up there about an inch or so, and then this can is farther away, and in the perspective that we've got going on, you see even less of the top of this can than you do of that mason jar. So I'm going to just make that line go over without a whole lot of the lip or the inside there showing. And it goes over to about, the can goes over to about right here, but my pagoda is blocking a lot of that, so I don't really need to draw that whole side. And I'm just going to barely, I might have done too much. I'll just raise this one a little. But I just want barely a little bit of the top, you know, where you can look into that can. Just the least little bit there going on. There, that's the top edge of my can. Then I can start hinting at the pattern. I'm trying to see what is that pattern I put in there. Okay, I think I see what I did. I made a circle and then I just made little dots around it like it's a flower, and then started another one right up beside it. And some of these dots I'm coloring in, others I'm gonna just draw a little circle because I'm gonna color the can really dark, and that will mean these are holes that you can see through, and you can see the light behind it because there's also where they coincide with the dots on the other side of the can. You can see right through it, and you've got the light color of the background there, which is why you see some patterns starting to happen there. So I don't want to leave them all open, but I don't need to decide that right now anyway. I can just put dots and then go back later and figure out which ones I want to be colored in or partially colored in, all that kind of stuff. And that's enough of that for now. Now I do have some more pattern. You probably can't see it real clear in the reference photo, but it might be there. I'm just going to put a hint of this pattern. I've got some additional holes punched in this thing all the way down into here, and I'm going to fiddle with those details later. I just for now put a little bit in there, and this is where I'm not sure you're seeing it good, so I'm going to get my tricky little bins up here and pull this paper up, put it in front of my camera, and see if that is where you can see my pencil markings. There. Oops, I might have went the wrong way. I have to count to 5 to account for the lag, and then I have to hold my breath so I don't wiggle the paper and make the autofocus not work. But there we go. I think you can see pretty good. I've just got a little bit of a pattern started. I don't have to finish it right now because I'm going to fiddle with those details, and I'm going to do the rest of the the pattern dots down in here, whatever I can see, which will actually be really dark compared to how dark I'm going to paint the can or draw color, whatever it is I'm doing here. So, 4B, yes. So that is kind of the position of that can. Now I need to put the bottom of it in, and it's just back a little bit behind the mason jar lantern. So I'm going to get a line there started for that. But most of that's going to be, or a big chunk of that's going to be covered up, because now I'm going to put the pagoda in front of that. So positioning the pagoda, I think the best way to start this off is going to be to look at where this line goes right across here. It's almost a straight line right there. So I'm going to put that in to start. And that's about midway over in the can here, down in it a little bit. So that's my starting point right there. And I want it to go over, looking and trying to get a idea of this based on percentages of the picture. This would be halfway, and that's actually a little bit more than 1/3, but you can either come up with something and say, I'm going to draw it, well, look at that space right there. That space, pretty close to that space. So if you put your pencil at the halfway mark on your paper, here's the dot that I made for my line there. That's how far it is over from the edge. And if I want to come the same distance over here, that puts, I'm going to draw that pagoda all the way over to there. That feels too big. But look at that, it's not. There's where I put that line. Let me see, I might be zoomed in too much for you to see this. There's where I put that line. I'll just use this to make the correlation. That's the start, and that's almost over to there. And then that's where I put it was going to, and that's almost over there. So maybe it's a little too big, but it's pretty close. So if I just move this back in here a little bit. And I can actually leave that colored in because it'll just be one of those dots and come in just a smidgen here. And then I'm just going to make a straight line across there. And I did not use a ruler. It would have been too distinct a line if I had done that. This is not a really super duper straight line, and we're going to do some other stuff to it anyhow. So having a ruler to draw that line is totally unnecessary. If you are nervous and feel like you got to use your ruler, well, go ahead, but I'm telling you, it's not necessary. Excuse me a second where I drink some of my hot tea. Which isn't hot anymore. Imagine that. Okay, I'm also noticing I'm getting a little bit of ink smudged on my hand. I don't really care at this point because I'm going to do so much shading and coloring. It isn't going to matter if I smudge some of this. Later on in the drawing, that might not be the case, but for now, that's the situation. Okay, now the top of my pagoda is a little bit higher than the top of the can. So I'm going to just put a line right up here for the top edge of the, well, and that I say the top of the pagoda. I don't mean that top. I mean this right here. And you see that's in a little from this edge and in a little from there. And I'm going to eyeball that rather than measure it, because I want it, at this point, it wants to look good and fit on my paper more so than it wants to be a real accurate replica of the photo. And then here this is going to curve down and it's going to angle over to just before the end of my line, because I've got a little lip on that thing, so I want this line to angle down to here. So I've got that nice little swoop happening. And bring this right down to here, and then it's going to go back up just a little bit and put an end on the, like an end cap on that bottom edge there. Now I'm going to clean up the top line. Pretty good. And then I'm gonna, oh, I forgot, I need to clean this little part out because I don't want those dots in there. And this edge of this can is just gonna, that line is gonna stay there lightly while I get the pagoda on, because parts of the pagoda you can see through it and you might see a little bit of that line. I don't know yet how that's going to work out. I do want to erase the part of the line I drew for the table that is now behind the can, and because there's can right here, we're not going to see that line either, and because there's candle wax in the bottom of the mason jar, we're not going to see that line. So those lines can all go away now too. And I'm going to just go ahead and continue these out here because I can, probably should. And I have a line that comes up from the back side of this, but I could put it from the front. I think I'll put it from the front. In the reference, we're actually seeing the wire that comes off of this is on the back side, but I'm going to just put it like it's coming from the front because it does have to, it'll just be coming up and going over and down behind that side instead of the reverse coming up back there and coming down over here in the front. So I'm reversing that because I think it will look better in the drawing to have this go up here, and it's just going to be a wavy line that goes up, and then I'm going to make it curl right out of the screen frame, whatever. Okay, now we've got a little topper on the top of here, so slightly slanted line, and put that over and put a ring that goes through that, and then I will fiddle the details of that more later, but for now that's the ring. Okay, Jackie. Yeah, I want to see your quickie that you did. I'll look for it. Thanks for being here as long as you were, and I'll see you and talk to you again soon. Alright, so now, and I don't draw quick. Those of you that draw quick, you probably are cringing that I'm taking so long to get this done, but I like to think about it and relax as I'm going. This is something that I do to relax, so I don't like to hurry it. Now the way to get the detail on the top of this pagoda, you just look and see that line actually starts inside that little topper, and the other side of it starts outside of the topper. So easy, we just start the line there, kind of sort of follow the angle of that, but remember this one is further around on this side, so it isn't going to be exact. And actually, if you do want to be exact, you can look at where that is in relation to this line here, and you can see it is way over there at about the 1/4 of the way mark. So here's the center, here's this side, somewhere in here is where this is going to be, and so we just put a little thing like that, And there's actually a lip right here which we will address in a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and draw that line on there so you can see that. So this line has to come right down to here, and then this line comes down and hits somewhere in this vicinity. Because of how wide it is or isn't, that's going to determine where that line hits, but that's on there. Now we can put a line over here that comes down and rolls around, and that's what we've got for that edge there, and that'll end up being all colored in, dark shaded. So so that'll look something like that. There'll be more detail to that as we go. This has kind of, this got to go under there. We need to leave a light line on top of that when we get to it. Now this one is about over the same, right in here somewhere. Just a little, you really just make like a little rectangle. And then we've got this lip that goes over here. Sort of the same thing happening as on the other side. A dark little spot there. Try to leave some light for the highlight to show, because if it's all dark, you can't really see what you're looking at. So you have to add extra lights that maybe aren't there when you're looking at what's really there. But you got to leave a little bit on your drawing so that it shows up. So now this lip comes over here, passes right under that and out the other side, and then this is dark with a little light on the top of it. This is dark also with a little light on the top of it. But there we go. And then we want the parts coming down from the top, and again, look at your pagoda in the reference. This edge comes out kind of almost in line with that side of your topper, and then that's over there. So make this line come out of here, and it angles over, and where it hits in this thing is more over to this side. So kind of that's our point where we're going to. So we start here and just kind of make a nice angle to there, and then and actually I think I'm going to angle that a little bit more than that, just to emphasize what that is. So I want it to go over and then down, and then over here it just kind of follows that, and it's going to end up on the left side of this, coming in right there. So there's the top of the pagoda on. Then you want to draw straight lines down, and this line is going to be, you want to think about where you're going to position that, because you don't want it too far over here and too far over here. It needs to come down kind of right in here to match the reference photo, but that means my can isn't wide enough, and I think I'm going to just leave it like that. I could have changed it, but I don't need to. It can be just like, it can be like that, because I like the width of the can. I might think on that. Maybe I'll change it later in the drawing, but for now I don't think I want to. So this comes down right around in here, and where you can see, the best way to decide where to put that, partly you can gauge it off of these, but I like to gauge it off of where the corners of the top of my pagoda are. This one is out a little ways from that corner. This one is not very far out at all. So let's see if I got that right. This one is not out far, and this one is out a little ways. So that should be right. If once I've got them drawn on the paper I don't like them, I can always erase it and change it. And this is going to come down about that far, I think. And then I want straight down from here, I want to put a straight line across that's the bottom of that front side of that pagoda, and then I want an angled line that's that side, and an angled line for this side to show it's going, to show it has roundness, but I don't like where those lines are. So I'm going to think about that. Maybe this line should be shorter. And maybe this line should be a little longer. That feels better right there. So I'm going to say that's how it should go. And that's how I make those decisions. I don't have any magical formula that I use all the time, every time. I mean, I do on the big parts, getting the main parts set in to get going, but then once I've got this much of it put on there, for this pagoda anyway, I'm going to just start kind of eyeballing some of the stuff, because I care more at this point how it looks on my paper than I care how it looks in the reference photo, as far as I don't need this to be a perfect match of the reference. This is just a picture I'm drawing and enjoying drawing it. Now this angle feels to me like it should have gone farther up, but maybe not. Maybe I just need to move. What I want to have is, I want to have this side showing a little more than the other side. So if I put that there, this should be a little wider than this. So I'm going to move this line over, and I think then I'll have what I want to have as far as the shape of it, the way it's sitting there. This is a little bit wider from here to here than here to here because of the angle that it's on. That's how it will look like that. Okay, then now I've got a whole bunch of lines right here. It's like 1, 2, 3 lines to get all the steps down to get this on here, and then this line isn't real distinct, but it needs to be there anyway. So 1, 2, 3, and then I need to do the same thing across the front. And on this side, over here you see a whole lot more. Actually, it shows up here too. You see those steps down. With those little angles. I zoomed in all the way, I think so, but we'll just see. Because I want you to see that little bit that I was showing you. And I think that did zoom in. So, yeah, hopefully you can see that. So, then I've got this weird shaped bottom. There's a leg on 3 sides, and then there's some parts where it doesn't come all the way down, but it does have little thing like that, so I guess that means it's a 6-sided thing here. So I'm going to start with this leg, I believe, and let's just mark off where that would go. This should actually have gone over this way a little more, so I'm going to alter where those lines are just that little bit, and continue this. This will continue out this way. Now where that's going to end up is I can start measuring top of the pagoda down to those lines. That's too far. That part to there, that's closer. So this leg needs to be about the same width as from there to there. which means that leg's going to come all the way down to here, and that's too far because it's right in the top of my chain. So just going to have to fudge a little and shorten it a little bit and put it right on this line somewhere. So now I just need to get this angle right and have it end up right here. And I see it from looking at my reference, it's going to end just a little bit past the edge there. So that's where I'm going to. So I just make that angle right there. And that is the right curve for getting that leg on there. Now it goes back to over in here somewhere, and then it curves. So it's going to come down here, but before I get that the whole way on there, I want to get this little pointy thing on right here, and it's got a angle that's coming out this way a little bit, and it just comes down. I'm going to say we're going to come down to right about here somewhere. So I've got a little line right there to aim for, and I'm going to make a curve that comes off of this and kind of follows the curve that's in my reference, and it comes out here like that, and then this is going to curve back up here and meet that line. So I just bring that up over to here and swoop it right into that, and that's perfect for that one. Now that lets me see what I'm doing here. I've got one that comes off this other side too. This is over here too, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in before I finish this, and that's going to just come right out to about, I'm going to put it like that, and then put it back up there, and that gives me my point to aim for when I'm bringing this side of this line down, because it's got to curve over and come right into this like that. Excuse me a second. Okay, then that lets me know where I can bring this to. Comes right down to here and over and up to there. There's that line of that pagoda leg right there. Then if I erase the table from behind there, that's actually gonna let me not see much of the table, this border, so I'm not gonna see it unless I fudge a little and just move that line down there, which I might do because I can. It's not really gonna show over there, so it doesn't matter. I just put it right there, and I can put it back in here too, because I'm gonna have this edge of this can coming right down here. So that line's going to be back there. I might see a little bit of it, or I might not in the drawing. But meanwhile, if I erase the lines that are no longer needed, then that's what I've got. Oops, don't need that back in there either. Okay, now the other leg is behind the next lantern, but it does come off of here, start off in that direction, and then this is going to go like that, and that's going starting off toward the next lantern. That's, I don't like the angle on that. That's pretty good. And then that tells me where to start the next lantern right here. And I'm going to have a planter back there with the plants coming up right in there. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and put in a little of the detail on the inside of this. What we've got going on here is there's a little plate there that's got that shape to it. That is repeated over here and on the 3 panels that are on the back side. So looking through there, you see into the inside of the pagoda, and you see out the other side behind this plate that's on the opposite side. So what I'm going to do is just make some lines that indicate that, and on this you can get as intricate about it as you want to. You don't have to put any more detail in this than what you want to do. So I'm just going to draw a little bit in here. Say we've got a frame kind of like that. Goes right up under the edge there. I've got something coming down the center. And because I'm going to be coloring this in with my pencil, I don't need to worry about lines crossing. Like right there, I'm going to color that in anyway, so it's not going to hurt anything to be just like that. Now that's the front piece that's on the front of this. It's got something coming down there like that. And then I would have something back behind it that comes down along in there. And I've got something right behind there. And like that, and like that. And that comes down. Now this looks confusing, but what I'm going to do here is go ahead and start coloring some of it in, and then it's going to make a lot more sense. So this part right back here would be the really darker part. So I'm just going to go ahead and color that in dark. It's probably one of the darkest values on the whole drawing. So I can just color that as dark as I want to color it. And again, that's the part on the back side. So then there's my center piece coming right down, right here, coming right down here. That's this piece. That is that. So then I've got this coming across here. I'm going to start back over here so I don't lose my place. Color this in first. Because it's pretty solid right down behind there. Then there's a line right through there. So I'm going to leave that uncolored. And then I've got another solid piece coming down here. And we see just a little bit of it there. And it goes over there, so. And again, put what you see and what you want to see, as much detail or as little as you want, because this is supposed to be relaxing and fun. And if you're getting all confused trying to follow along here, then step back, put your pencil down, step back, take a little breather, take a drink of your beverage, and just look at it for a minute and see what you've got. So that's what I see through the window, so to speak. And then I've got a lighter color for the parts of the actual one on this front side. So I want to color that lighter. And this is where you could actually pick up your 8B pencil. That would be a good time to switch to that. So that, now that puts that front little panel in, just the front center panel right there. And I'm going to do both of these side panels exactly the same way. Just looking at what I see here, for like I see this line, this light line, so I got that light line there. Mine's a little wider than theirs, but I could just go back in and tweak that a little if I want to, and color that in to where it's a thinner bit of light showing through there. And I can put a darker bit underneath here if I want, and darker on this side. That gives that piece a little bit more form and shape. And color this a little wider. So that my holes that are showing are a little more narrow. And I think I want to just put something dark back in there. And a little bit more right up in here. And those are just details that I see from looking and comparing the light, the shapes of the light here. And this is kind of really like negative painting or drawing in the negative shapes, because we're coloring these shapes, and you can look at that as a shape, or you can look at the light spot as a shape and color around it. Like, look at the shape of that light spot right there. That means on this side I'm going to come up here and up here, and I've got a light shape going on here. I've got a really light colored spot right there. So how I'm going to get that in there is that's the outer edge, then there's that edge, then I've got a dark edge here. Well, I've got something coming up right there. Let me just go ahead and put that on there, and that's at an angle. This side is a little bit different pattern than in here. I'm just seeing that, and so now here is where I'm going to put this little swoop right down in here like that. And that comes to there, and then I've got dark right here, up here, and across there, and I'll go ahead and color that in dark so I don't lose my place. And then up here, let's see, this comes over. Oh, right here, that's where I am. This comes over to here, up to here. There's the dark part, and there's something dark coming down this side. And then it meets up with that. And that meets up with that, and that. So I got the dark in there. Now I'm going to go back and put the lighter shade in here. And what I'll end up with are those two strange looking shapes. Or, you know, shapes with no, like, they're not squares and they're not circles. They're just a little bit of light right there and right there. And I kind of missed a little bit right there, but it doesn't hurt anything. So now I'm going to darken a few areas for detail, just so that that's going to show up what I've really got there. And I've got, this edge needs to be darker here, a little darker here, but that's pretty much that edge, or that side of that part of my pagoda is done. Now I'm going to just do a little bit of coloring right up in here to add more of this detail so that we can move on. And at this point, I think it'd be a good idea to switch to one of these things and just start smearing my stuff around. One of these blending stumps. It'll put the color on there just about perfect. And I can even use it to smooth this part in here. And you see how much difference that makes to just use the blending stump to smooth your marks out. I'm going to color a little bit down in here, because then I can go back and just put the dark lines in on top of that, and that'll be perfect. This gives it just the right sort of a texture look. Need a little bit more dark on this side of that part. Just blend that right in. Look how good that looks. Now let's see. I want a lot of shading on this side. I want a really dark line right across there, and pretty dark right across the bottom of that. This is really dark right in here, so there's going to be a lot of dark shadowed stuff right in here, so you won't really see that line so distinctly there, and that'll look about like that. Then I can make some color on this side, but it needs to be lighter over here. And you can adjust how much graphite how much you're smoothing that or smudging that around and moving it around on your paper by just how much pressure you're using on with your blending stump there. And that's right now looking real outlined, and I don't like it, but once I color the soup can lantern a lot darker, that outline edge will just kind of fade into that. Okay, so now I'm going to show you this close up so you can see where we're at. Hopefully that's holding steady enough that you can see it. I might have to move it around a little bit. Actually, let's zoom out just a little bit. See where that puts us. Now I'm breathing and it's making the page move. so we can't see the whole thing with it like that. How about like that? There, that's pretty good. So you can see that pagoda is really taking shape. Move him over out from behind the, actually, let's get the reference photo out of there so we can see it good and in the light. So you can see we're getting there, and we're making something really pretty happen. I do think I need to darken these. My dark areas on this side are not as dark as what I've got right here, so I'm going to darken these a little bit more as I go, and then I'm going to finish out the pattern in that side later, because I want to go ahead and position another one of these lanterns. And then I will also need to work on that ring at the top that you hang it from, and I think my little topper piece there needs to be darker. So I'm going to darken this. I really need to darken and work on that. Just making it, don't forget that there will be a little highlight on the top, but these parts right here need to be much darker. So I'm going to darken that. But at this point, I'm going to let the pagoda sit for a minute while I start putting some other stuff in. Otherwise, this one is going to be a drawing of the pagoda. But also, this is a kind of a thing that I could work on this for 3 or 4 hours. And we're not going to have a 4-hour live stream. I have seen people do those, but to be honest with you, I'm never going to watch a 4-hour live stream. So I'm not going to make one that you guys are watching too. What I will do is I will keep working on this, and eventually I'll have it finished and I'll post the finished piece. Oh, by the way, let's see if I can press the right button here. I think that's the right one. I meant to say earlier and didn't get it done before Jackie got out of here, so I'll have to just email her and let her know. But I finally got enough subscribers to qualify to get a custom URL. So now to find my YouTube channel, you just got to know youtube.com/C. I think that's an abbreviation for channel, I'm not sure, but anyway, youtube.com/C/M Christine Landis Watercolors and Mixed Media. Right there, like is on the screen in front of me. So you can find my channel easier now that way. But also I put my website on there, which is also mchristinelandis.com. And on my website you can find all kinds of pictures of my artwork, but also on the Get in Touch page I have links to everything like my Facebook page. And my Facebook page is it's a public page, and it's where I will post the finished drawing that we're making today. When we do a live stream and I don't finish the whole project in the live stream deal, because I don't like to keep you for ever and ever. But anyway, those get posted on my Facebook page, and you can find that. It's also coincidentally facebook.com/M Christine Landis. So it's, pretty convenient. But anyway, that's where you can find my Facebook page and find where I post finished pieces. I have not got enough subscribers yet to qualify for a community tab. I do have a discussion tab on my YouTube channel, and you can get me messages or make comments on what we're doing on that discussion tab if you don't want to put it on the comments of the actual video. But with the discussion tab, it's like the comments in the video. I cannot post a picture to that. Later, when I get enough subscribers and I get that community tab, then I can post pictures right there, and it'll be super convenient for you to go back and find the finished piece for the live streams that we don't finish in the hour and a half or 2 hours that I'm going to be here. But anyway, for now, go to my website, and click on the link to my Facebook page, or sometimes I post it in the news page, which I think says exhibits, workshops, news, something like that. There's a tab for that, and sometimes I post this stuff on there too, right on my website. So if you want to see the finished piece, because we're going to keep working on it right now, but obviously I'm not going to get this whole page all covered up with the drawing today. I just don't work that fast. But let's see. Let's zoom back in a little bit, and like I said, we're leaving the pagoda for a minute, and we're going to go to let's go to this next little lantern. It's a square thing. Let's see, take that out, and looking at the picture, I've got my pagoda in about the right spot, just kind of checking real quick, and this one is going to go right here, and it's going to be about right here for how high it's going to be, so that's where it's going to be sitting. Now if that's going to bump into my chains, which I don't think it is going to be over that way some more, because its edge is right here. So let me put that right over here. That's about where it's going to be sitting, and this edge of it is going to come up right about here. Okay, and it's about this wide. Is that going to be right? Let's see here. Looking at the picture, that's pretty close to halfway over. So is that where I'm coming out right here? Yes, it is. I'll put it just a little bit this way. Okay, so that's where I'm positioning this little square lantern, and it's let's see, that's the back edge, and that needs to come up somewhere in this vicinity. So that's about how high it is, and these lines should be angled just ever so slightly in to get the shape of it to show right. And we need a kind of a straight line here, and then we want to angle back just a little. Oops, where's the, oh, that's that edge. I need that line to stop more like right here. Okay, that's where I want that one to go. Then this one is gonna change direction and go back up there, because this thing is, we want it to look like it's a square thing sitting there. I think that's probably enough. Okay, then the roof of it extends out here a little bit more. So that's the corner on this side. Then we've got a corner for the front facing here. This corner is right about in here. So I've got a straight line across there. Then the corner for this side, that's, you know, on this side, so it's, you're looking at it like that. The far corner out here is kind of like about right there. And then we've got another corner, we've got a corner back there that needs to go on. That's that side, you know, the opposite side of this over there. So figuring where that goes, it's over about this much, and as far as up, it's a smidgen higher than that. Not very much, but a little bit higher. So that line goes like that, and then we have a line that connects those two, but most of it doesn't show because there's this little chimney top thing right there, and you can see here there's also, this part is raised up in a circle. So putting that on there, that's going to go kind of like that, and then this goes up above, just above the line in the back. And then we've got that chimney thing, which is popping up right about here. So straight lines up there, and then put a flat elliptical thing on the top of it. And it's got a little disc right there. Okay, so then we can firm up those lines back there, because that's the only part that shows. Now, erase some of these lines that we don't need. That's pretty good for that. And my pencil's getting not as sharp as I want it to be. But I have another already sharpened 4B right here. So, it's short, but it works. Alright, this line needs to continue on down to there, and that goes to there. Now we can put our design in the front of here, but I'm going to probably come back and do that later. For now, I'm just going to, let's see, I'll put these sides in. Just make a straight line down each side here. And make this across here. Now, across from there and in there, that's our inside in the back, and we've got a part that goes up that way that follows that angle, but you don't really see that one. I shouldn't have drawn that one on there so hard. But there, that goes up, and we're going to have a candle in there. But for the moment, I'm not going to put that in. I'm just going to get these lines in and go ahead and position some of the next things. Or else, like I said, this is going to be a drawing of the pagoda. Alright, that goes there. This line follows that line for angle. And we've got a narrow line showing back there. And a little bit of this line coming up there. We're also going to have the line in the back, so that's going to be an odd shaped dark section back in there. Now we're going to have a little bit of a circle right there and right there that the handle comes up out of. And I want to plan where I want my handle to go. It needs to go up here to about right in here. I'm looking at where the top of the pagoda is, where the top of this is, the distance from this to the handle, and you know, that kind of stuff. And so I want to put the top of my handle right about in there. So I'll just make a little mark. That's my point I'm shooting for, trying to get right there. Okay, now this has to angle, it has to not touch that and not touch that. So it has to pass right through there and come up to that area somewhere. So that gives me the angle that I need to draw this line at. And then this one has to kind of follow that same angle and then also curve back over that way. So drawing this one first, and let me just lay my ruler on there so you can see what I'm talking about. I want that angle right about right there, because that is going to miss that and miss the side of the pagoda. So I'm just going to send that right up that direction, and then once it gets up here, it starts curving and hits that. That's where I want the top of it to go, so that's as far as I'm going to go there. And then on this side, I want to do the same thing and send it up this way, and somewhere about in here it's going to start angling over that way as well. So again, if I want, I can use my ruler and get this angle to match that angle coming up out of there. To around in that area, then I start curving it over to that, and that's a really nice handle on there. and then we'll add the dimension to it in a minute. I just want to erase that little bit right there that I don't need. Clean that up just a smidgen. Now, let's see, I'm going to want this line around here, and I've got some detail in this where there's little openings cut in this thing for the smoke of the votive candle that is inside there to be able to escape. And those are going to be dark little spots there, darker than the rest. This will be darkened, but not as dark as those spots. Okay, and that's a dark spot on the top there. Go ahead and put the rest of this on. There's that handle on. Now, like I said, we'll put the detail on that later. Now, I could position the next big lantern on there and then do my planter that I have back there. I don't remember what I have there. There's something back behind there. I don't really need to know exactly what that is. I can either leave it off and just have the table showing there, which I think is what I'll do, or I could just put dark shapes in there, because it's really more about the shapes than it is to know exactly what it is. I could just put those dark shapes in there and it'll look fine, even though I don't even remember what planter I had sitting there. It looks like maybe a cup and a saucer type of a planter, but anyway. So let's see, putting thank you, Sally. Putting the next thing in, and it is 3:40. I'm going to work on this maybe 6 more minutes. I'm going to go to about 3:45, and then I'm going to probably shut it down for today, because otherwise I just feel like it gets too long. I think you guys do too, and I can finish it and put the finished project, like I said, on my Facebook page or somewhere where you can find it. So to position this one, I would do the same like I have been doing. It's obviously going to start right beside this lantern. You see that this circle kind of just barely goes behind the corner there, and it's a little bit larger than the pagoda, so I would just put a circle there, and I could use a drawing guide, like maybe something like a roll of tape. Could lay that on there and draw around it and get a big circle going on there, or I could freehand it. It doesn't really matter. One thing that does matter though is it's not exactly a circle, so if you do that, just do something like that. Just get the sides on and don't draw it all the way at the top, because it does need to, right about in here, start going upward instead of being exactly a round ball shape. So I'm going to just bring this right on down here, and then I've got the base of this thing doesn't come as far down as this. It's sitting a little bit back, farther back than the square is. So I want to put this base of this, which is not quite as wide as the glass lantern is. So it's going to start right about there. It's going to sit right about on here. So there's my bottom line, and on this side it comes out to about right here. So drawing some up and down parts there, putting that bottom edge on that's a curve that's only going to come down to about right there. That's the base on this lantern, and then you can adjust the height of this to where you think it should go, and put the front edge on, just following that same curve that you made on your bottom line there. And then you're going to make this curve on right on back that way, and that lets you know how this line needs to start coming down here. Let's see, let's bring it down and right down to there. So it's leaving the actual circle. Actually, let's see, let's put this here, draw this next part of the base on there. And that's in place there. And again, we erase the part of the table that we don't see through the lantern. And that needs to go up a little bit more so that it looks like it meets that edge correctly. Then we do the same thing in reverse at the top. You find where the bottom edge of that this top right here, find that bottom edge right there and draw that line on, and that is going to be kind of in a line. It's more in line with this inner part right here than this one, so coming in a little bit to here, and as far as how high up, it's a little bit above the top of the pagoda. So I put that right there, and it's shorter than this too, so that's going to be too high. I'm going to have to adjust that in a minute, but I'm going to put that bottom line right on there. And then I just adjust this line so that this curve, I curved it out a little more than I should there, but anyway, it's going to go right up into there rather than be a round circle that meets that. So again, on this side, I'm going to have this, I'm going to adjust that curve a little bit because I just want it to have more of an organic shape rather than a really round shape. So I just cut that little bit off on the edge there. Do a little more cleanup again here. There, I like that. It kind of bumps out there more than it does in the reference, but that's going to make my drawing look really pretty. Okay, so then we've got the topper on this is kind of, let's see, we come in just a little bit here. This is going to swoop in and go up. And it goes up to about this vicinity and curves in. And then it's got just a little bit of the indication where the metal just sort of bends. It's not two separate pieces there. It's more like it's bent. And so then we've got one that comes up about this high and comes down to about right here. So we want to do that, have it swoop out over there. Same thing on this side. And then we've got a little topper on top of that. If you have a favorite shape, you can do that, or you can kind of copy what's on the reference photo, although it does go off the page. But that's the general idea of what we have there. Something like that. Then you just start filling in your details. And this has these nice handles that come out of the sides over here somehow. And I think there's a bit sticking out there that's maybe going to look something like that. So you do a little bit of something sticking out, and your handle comes out of that and out of that, and you just make it follow this edge and come out a little bit and up, around, and back over here, and it sort of touches that side and does this big swoop. So I'm just going to have this come out of here, follow this up in here, and do this big swoop. That is what I'm going to turn into the handle on that side. And then on this side I do the same sort of thing. Out of here, back through there, curve back over to here, and do this big swoop. So there's my handles on there, looking really nice. and then I turn those into actual handles the same way I did that one. And then I will start putting the marks in here. Now here's where you could just start coloring this background piece, and then you won't have your outline shape happening if you don't like to have that outline. And that's really true negative drawing, negative work. But I'm going to lightly draw mine on here because I just like to do it like that. But you put those little marks on there, and again, I wonder if I can just hold that up and show you. I drew that really, really, really light. Now I gotta stop talking so I can hold my breath, so I hold the paper still so it'll focus. Okay, but you see what I'm talking about. Drew that really light, and then what I'll do is I'll color around this a little bit, and then use this blending stump once again to put my to smooth out my marker, my pencil marks, and make that really pop really nicely. It'll look like the metal that this thing is actually made out of. And of course I'll color this part dark, and then really, really have negative coloring on this part. For this part you just make a lot of lines kind of down, very light, and make them following the shape of the lantern. And then you can start making some marks. That's the part I should have held up here to show you. Let me do one more thing. Then you just start making some cross marks in random spots, and then you color them, and you don't color them smooth. I'll show you that part too, and that's, I think, the last thing I'm going to have on there for today. But see, I put really super light lines. That's so that I can go back and make adjustments if I feel that I want to or need to. I can adjust where these lines are. I can add more, or take that one out and turn it into 2 lines instead of 1, and get the right amount of lines in there that I like, so that I get this appearance going on. And to show you what I'm talking about, I'm across my studio taking my picture off the wall, so I can bring that over and show you, because I'm out of time today. But this right here, this is what I am doing with these light lines here. Let me zoom back out so you can see the whole thing. I've got light lines going on here, and what I'm going to do is put in all of this detail. Now I gotta not forget, I've got a section up here that has more circles instead of lines. That would be this section right here, where I've got round glass marble things in there, because this is mosaic on here, obviously. But anyhow, what I will do then is I just start coloring, like for these right here, I'm going to just color around that. Again, that's, negative drawing, negative painting. I always call it painting, but this is actually not painting, unless we're painting with a pencil. But anyway, you color around it like that, and then you've got the background colored, and your little tile and marble shapes show up, and you didn't actually color those, you colored the space behind it. So that's what I'm going to do here, and I'm going to just color on these, and I'm going to keep it very irregular, so it will look like my tile pieces on here. And then some of them get colored, shaded in a little bit more than others, but that's what the end will look like on that. So if I actually combined these 2 drawings, I got a pagoda over here, and I got my other mosaic lantern here, and this is what this little one looks like when you finish coloring in all the details on that. So and there's my tabletop pattern, which I didn't get to today, but I'm going to do that, because when I'm finished here, oops, might have been out of the frame. When I'm finished here on my live stream, I gotta go run a couple of errands, and then I'm gonna sit down in front of my computer over at my desktop and just relax and finish this one out. And you see, it's looking different. This one I drew. This one I drew. They don't look exactly the same, but they don't have to, because they're each one my artwork and my drawing and a piece that I sat down and enjoyed working on. And neither of them look just exactly like the reference photo, but once again, they don't really have to. They don't need to be an exact replica of your reference. That's it's just not necessary. It's not even ideal. It's not how you create nice art. It's not how you relax and enjoy your drawing, and use art as stress therapy and stuff like that. If you're too tied to making it exactly match your reference, then you're not going to enjoy it nearly as much. And plus, you won't be able to go out and do painting and drawing outside, and that is a whole nother really fun thing to do. Just go, especially if you've worked on your garden and made your garden all nice. It's sometimes super nice, either early in the morning or late in the evening. I enjoy going and sitting outside in my patio chairs and looking at all my plants that I've worked on and got them looking great. And it looks so pretty out there. And one way to share that with others is to take my art supplies out there and just sit and sip on a cold drink or cup of hot tea or whatever, and draw my own garden. It's really pleasant. And then I have a piece of artwork I can share with friends or family or something who can't be here right now. So that's what I would do, and what I will end up doing to finish this piece today. But I'm happy with it. I think I got a lot done on here, and I hope that I gave you a lot of pointers so you know how you can draw something like this, which starts out with a whole lot going on in the picture, but then you take it piece at a time and divide and conquer, so to speak, and end up with a pretty nice drawing. So hope you had fun. Hope you'll come back and join me again. Let's see, look at my calendar. The next live stream will be at 2 p.m. on Friday afternoon, September 17th. And so mark your calendars, or better yet, if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and then you should hopefully get a notification when I'm doing my next live stream. So thanks tons, and I'll see you next time. Bye.